Caleb. Saxon Algebra 1/2 here, lesson 75. The topic is implied ratios. What that means is that these are ratio problems where John's not going to come right out and say, hey, Caleb, it's a ratio problem. But you're going to be able to figure it out quite easily, and we'll use ratios to solve them. Okay, we have our tic-tac-toe board, if you will, that we have used in the past to solve problems like this. So we're going to use it again. Here comes the story. It takes 2 1/2 eggs to make 140 cookies. Jenny wants to make 1,680 cookies. Jenny is a wild woman. How many eggs does she need? Okay, so what we're talking about is eggs and cookies. And we know that we'll have a ratio and we'll have an actual number. The ratio we're given is that it takes 2 1/2 eggs for every 140 cookies. Eggs, cookies, eggs, cookies. Jenny wants to make 1,680 cookies. So we go to the cookie line and we write 1680 right there. How many eggs does she need? Actual number of eggs, that's where the X goes. All right? So we've got all of our numbers and letters in the right place, and now we want to pull the two fractions out so we can start solving the proportion. So I know that it's going to be putting the numbers exactly the way they are in the tic-tac-toe grid. We just lift them right out. And I've ignored the fact that this is an annoying mixed number till now, and I'm going to change it to 5/2. Okay? Now I'll cross multiply. 1680 times 5/2 equals 140x. Okay? And then I'm going to divide by 140. And look, I already have a fraction over here, but that's okay. I can just put these guys together in the denominator. I'm multiplying the two parts of the denominator together. Okay, so let's see what we can do to reduce over here. 2 will not go into the 5, but 2 will go into the 1680, and this will become what? 840 if I chop that number in half. So that goes in there. I wonder what number goes into 840 and 140. Let's let's do it this way. Let's do the 5 against the 140. 5 goes into 100. This is how my brain's seeing it. 5 goes into 100 20 times. Yes, it is. Sorry. 5 goes into 100. That leads us to 20 times. 5 into 40 goes 8 times. So this and this cancels, and I get 28. Make sense? I divided 5 into these two steps in my head. And we can check it just to make sure. I would do this mentally, but I'll show it to you. 0, 4, 10, 14. Okay, it multiplies back, so it must be right. Okay, 840 and 28. I know that 4 goes into both of those numbers. This would become 7. 4, this would be 210, right? Okay, and then that I can see goes in 30. And I think I've destroyed all my numbers, so x equals 30. So what that means is that Jenny is going to need 30 eggs to bake her cookies, all of those cookies. All right, which is good. I'm glad she didn't end up needing a half egg, because that's hard to do. All right, this simplification got a little crazy, but setting it up, I hope you see, was super straightforward. That's example 75.1, and there's just one more. Here we go. I'm going to start my tic-tac-toe board. An actual. Here's the story. It takes 3 tons of fertilizer to fertilize 170 acres. Okay, so this is tons of fertilizer and acres of land that gets fertilized. 3 tons will do 170 acres. I stopped to do this much before I read the rest of the problem. It just feels better in my brain to do it that way. Farmer Brown wants to fertilize 1,870 acres. How many tons of fertilizer does Farmer Brown need? Okay, so the X goes in the place that what we're trying to figure out, and we set it up just like before. We just pull the numbers out and drop them down into fractions. We put an equal sign in between them because that proportion will be the same. And we cross multiply. 3 times 1870 equals 170x. Divide by 170. I need more room, so I'm going to take this space. I'm pretty sure that 170 is going to go into 1870. Can you see it? It goes in once, 170, and then I subtract, and I get it again. It's 11. So this goes away, this goes away, this becomes 11, this becomes a 1. Those have been canceled. So X equals 33 tons of fertilizer. The math on this one was a lot quicker to be done. I could write it right here. It's a little crowded, so I squeeze it, I write it over here as well. Okay, that's what we mean by implied ratios. Nowhere in the problem did John come out and say the ratio of eggs to cookies is 2.5 to 100.